welcome to Griffonomics.
It is great to be here.
So if you look around your neighborhood right now, chances are you will see a house being built or maybe a roof being replaced or some major remodel happening.
Yeah, there's always construction somewhere, right?
Exactly. And if you've ever wondered how the homes of the future are actually going to get built and, well, more importantly, who is going to profit from it, this deep dive is your essential shortcut to understanding it.
Because today we are looking at a company that operates mostly, in the background of everyday life.
Right. Completely invisible to the average person just walking down the street.
Totally invisible. But they are quietly rewiring the entire American housing market.
The company is Builders FirstSource, ticker symbol BLDR. And what they're doing right now is really nothing short of a revolution in construction.
It really is. And to figure out who actually profits, we have to look past the physical lumberyard.
So what's our roadmap for this deep dive?
Well, the mission today is to lay out a granular investigative report and an actionable investment roadmap for you.
For you listening at home.
Right. We are going to decode Builders FirstSource's fundamental transformation. They are going from a highly cyclical, traditional lumber distributor into a technology-driven, vertically integrated building solutions provider.
Which is a lot of big words, but internally we've just been calling them the efficiency engine.
Yeah, I like that name, the efficiency engine. We need to understand how this engine works, why it was built in the first place, and how it's designed to compound wealth even when the broader housing market is struggling.
And the scale of what we are going to cover today is massive. So let's highlight the specific areas we'll unpack.
Sounds good.
We are looking at their massive shift to a 48% value-added product mix.
Which completely changes their risk profile, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. We're also going to dig into their strategic modular acquisition, a company called Pleasant Valley Homes.
Right.
And we are going to explore the formidable digital moat being dug right now by their MyBLDR platform.
That platform is a game changer.
It really is. But to set the stage for you, think about the traditional home building process like a chaotic potluck dinner.
Okay, a potluck. I can see that.
Right. You've got the framing guys bringing the wood, the window guys showing up late, the roofers just standing around waiting.
The architects constantly changing the recipe halfway through cooking.
Exactly. Everyone is bringing random ingredients at totally different times. But Builders FirstSource is stepping in to be, well, the master chef, the grocery store, and the kitchen staff all rolled into one.
That's a great analogy because they realize that being just the grocery store, just selling the raw ingredients was a terrible, volatile business model.
Right. Highly cyclical.
Highly. So to understand where this company is going, we first have to unpack exactly how they make their money today.
And how that core strategy has fundamentally pivoted, right?
Yeah. Yes. They've moved from just dropping off sacks of wood at a muddy dirt lot to providing a fully integrated home building solution.
A solution that spans manufacturing, supply, delivery, and even installation now.
Exactly. And if we look at their 2025 financial breakdown, they generated $15.2 billion in total net sales.
$15.2 billion. That is a massive number.
It is. And that number rests on 4 distinct pillars.
Okay, so breaking those pillars down paints a pretty clear picture of how comprehensive they actually are. Let's walk through them. Where do we start?
Let's start with their largest segment right now. The first pillar is specialty building products and services.
Okay.
This brought in $4.07 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, which is about 26.8% of their net sales.
And what exactly is in that category?
It includes the visible layers and the critical systems of a house. So vinyl siding, roofing, insulation, cement, and even cabinets.
Okay, so the finishing touches and the exterior shell kind of stuff.
Right. Now, the second pillar is the legacy business. Lumber and lumber sheet goods.
The classic lumberyard stuff.
Exactly. This brought in $3.88 billion, or 25.5% of net sales. This is your traditional dimensional lumber and OSB-oriented strand board.
Basically, the raw material that goes up and down in price every single time the wind changes direction in the global commodities market, right?
You nailed it. It's highly commodity exposed.
Got it. What's the third pillar?
The third is windows, doors, and millwork, generating $3.84 billion. So that's 25.3% of sales.
Another massive chunk.
Yeah, but this isn't just distributing boxes. This is the manufacturing and assembly of custom trim, pre-hung doors, and vinyl windows.
Okay, so there's actual labor and assembly happening there.
Exactly. And finally, the fourth pillar is manufactured products, sitting at 3.41 billion.
Which makes up the rest, so about 22.4%.
Right. And these are the factory-built substitutes for job site framing. Think massive roof and floor trusses and engineered wood components.
Okay, so just looking at those four pillars, I see two that look like traditional distribution and two that look like heavy-duty manufacturing.
And that observation right there is the key to their entire corporate pivot.
It is.
Yeah, we call this the value-added pivot.
The value-added pivot. Okay, explain that for me.
Well, the strategic metric that matters most to investors right now is that the higher margin, quote-unquote, value-added categories—
Here to the manufactured products and the windows and doors, right?
Correct. Those two combined now account for 48% of Builders FirstSource's total product mix.
Almost half the business.
Exactly. And that is a deliberate climb from roughly 45% back in 2021.
Okay, but what's the why behind that shift?
It is entirely about margin protection. I mean, raw lumber swings wildly in price. It's based on global commodities, weather, trade tariffs.
It's totally out of their control.
Right. So if you just sell 2x4s, your profit margins are completely at the mercy of the market. But value-added products insulate those margins.
How so?
Well, think about it. A builder isn't paying for the raw cost of the wood in a pre-assembled roof truss. They are paying for the engineering, the precision, the labor saved, and just the sheer convenience.
So there's a premium baked into that price.
Exactly. And that premium fundamentally changes the unit economics of the whole business.
But hold on, let me test that logic for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
Because if 25.5% of their net sales is still raw lumber, I mean, they haven't actually escaped the commodities market, have they?
Well,
I mean, how much does selling a pre-hung door really protect you if the raw wood frame around it just crashes in value? Does a 48% mix genuinely shield a $15 billion giant from lumber deflation?
that's a great question. And it requires looking closely at the mechanics of margin protection. You are right that they will never fully escape commodity exposure as long as they sell sheet goods.
Right.
But you have to think of value-added products as a shock absorber.
A shock absorber, okay.
Yeah. When lumber prices plummet, which, by the way, we saw at the end of 2025, composite prices dropped below $350 per thousand board feet.
Which is painfully low.
It is. So when that happens, their top-line revenue from the lumber pillar takes an absolute beating.
Sure, the revenue shrinks.
But the gross margin percentage on a custom manufactured roof truss or a locally assembled vinyl window, that remains incredibly sticky.
Wait, sticky how? Walk me through the mechanics of that.
Okay, follow the product. If raw lumber drops in price, the input cost for building that roof truss drops, right?
Well, the wood is cheaper.
But Builders FirstSource doesn't immediately slash the price of the finished truss by that same amount.
Why not? Wouldn't the builder demand a lower price?
Not necessarily, because the builder still desperately needs that exact, custom-measured, highly engineered component to finish the house on schedule.
Ah, okay. The value is in the time saved.
Exactly. The value to the builder is the labor saved on the job site, not the raw wood inside the truss. So while the top-line revenue might fluctuate with the commodities market, the actual gross profit dollars they extract from each house remain far more stable.
That makes total sense.
Huh.
But I guess solving the margin issue on the product side only works if you are actually solving a fundamental problem for your customer, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Making higher margin products is great, but to truly lock in these Builders FirstSource had to change how homes are built and designed, not just what materials are being used.
Right.
And that seems to be the real strategic inflection point here.
It is. To really understand their strategic inflection point, you have to look at the massive macroeconomic problem that is plaguing the United States right now.
The labor shortage.
The chronic shortage of skilled tradesmen, yes. In a recent market intelligence survey, 61% of builders cited the lack of skilled labor as their primary concern.
61%. That is huge.
It's massive. There simply aren't enough framers, roofers, and carpenters to build the houses the country actually needs. And when labor is scarce, what happens?
Labor becomes incredibly expensive.
Right. which destroys the builder's profit margin. So Builders FirstSource looked at this and realized that offsite manufacturing isn't just a product category for them.
It's the ultimate labor solution for the builder.
Exactly.
Let's get into the mechanics of that on the ground because it's completely changing the physical reality of a construction site.
It really is.
Historically, a lumber yard would just back a truck up to a muddy lot, dump a massive pile of raw 2x4s and plywood, and then just drive away.
And then a crew of very expensive carpenters would spend a week measuring, cutting, and assembling the frame of the house piece by piece in the rain.
Right. So what does Builders FirstSource do differently?
They developed systems like ReadyFrame to completely bypass that chaotic, inefficient process.
ReadyFrame. How does that work?
Instead of dumping raw lumber on a job site, they use specialized software that calculates the exact project-specific lumber needs based on the architectural plans.
Okay.
And then the wood is pre-cut and labeled in a factory. It's bundled up and delivered ready to assemble.
So it functions almost like a massive piece of IKEA furniture for the framing crew.
That's the perfect way to describe it. It's life-size IKEA for houses. It saves the builder immense amounts of time and drastically improves job site safety.
Because you aren't running circular saws in the mud.
Right, or making complicated measurements while balancing on scaffolding. You are simply taking piece A and connecting it to piece B exactly as the factory specified.
That's brilliant, but they didn't just stop at pre-cutting wood, did they?
No, they did not.
Because they made a massive leap into full-scale modular construction at the end of 2025.
Right, with the acquisition of a company called Pleasant Valley Homes.
Tell me about Pleasant Valley.
So Pleasant Valley Homes is a wholesale manufacturer of factory-built housing serving 10 northeastern states.
And we aren't talking about double-wide trailers here, are we?
No, not at all. We are talking about HUD-compliant, high-quality, semi-custom modular homes that are built entirely in a climate-controlled facility.
So they literally run down an assembly line.
Exactly. And think about the advantages of that. You don't have weather delays. You don't have expensive materials sitting out in the rain warping.
Or getting stolen off the job site.
Exactly. You have specialized workers performing repeatable tasks with incredible precision, which dramatically lowers the cost per square foot.
Wait, hold on a second. If Builders FirstSource supplies home builders, and now they start building entire modular homes themselves in a factory, aren't they suddenly competing directly with our own customers?
That is the exact question Wall Street was asking.
I mean, a builder might look at that and say, why am I buying lumber from you if you're going to try and sell the house down the street yourself and cut me out?
It's a valid fear, but CEO Peter Jackson was very explicit about this on their Q4 earnings call.
What did he say?
He said his vision is not to become a traditional retail modular seller competing with builders. That's not the goal at all.
Then what is the strategy?
The strategy is to offer this exact factory capacity to their existing home builder partners.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. They go to a national or regional builder and say, look, we know you are struggling to build lower-end, affordable starter homes because local labor in this market is just too fragmented and expensive to make the math work.
So let's build it for you.
Exactly. Let us build the semi-custom modular units for you in our factory, and you can place them, brand them, and sell them as your own.
Wow. So it becomes a reliable, cost-competitive option for the builder to maintain volume without managing a chaotic labor pool.
Precisely. It's an outsourcing solution for the builders, not a consumer-facing product line.
They are essentially franchising out their factory floor space to solve the labor crisis for their clients.
That's exactly what they're doing.
But solving the labor issue on the job site is only half the battle, right?
Oh, yeah. The other half is the back office chaos.
Right. If you have ever seen a builder's truck, the dashboard is usually just covered in crumpled blueprints, highlighted invoices, sticker notes.
Coffee stains on the architectural drawings.
Exactly. And that brings us to the digital moat they are digging. We need to dissect my BLDR.
The MyBLDR platform is perhaps the most underappreciated asset in their entire portfolio.
Really? More than the modular factories?
I think so. This is their proprietary digital ecosystem. And the adoption metrics are just staggering.
Lay the numbers on me.
In 2025, the MyBLDR platform processed nearly $7 billion, in quotes.
7 billion. With a B.
With a B. That is a 130% year-over-year increase.
That is insane growth.
It is. $7 billion, in quotes, flowing through a single software platform fundamentally changes the relationship between a supplier and a builder.
Okay, so how does the software actually replace the clipboard? Walk us through the mechanics of a builder using MyBLDR versus, the traditional way of doing business.
Well, the platform has a dual nature. It starts with a suite of free core features available to any customer.
Okay, the hook.
Right. It acts as a single source of truth. Because in the old days, a builder would have to call 5 different sales reps just to figure out where their windows were, when the lumber was arriving, and if the trusses were delayed.
Just burning hours on the phone.
Exactly. But now, a builder gets a single login where they can manage all their projects 24/7.
From their phone.
From their phone, their tablet, whatever. They can store documents, share blueprints, track live orders, and even see photos of the materials as they are delivered to the job site.
Oh, so proof of delivery right in the app.
Yep. Plus, they can pay bills and review invoices. It just eliminates the endless phone calls, lost emails, and physical paperwork.
Okay, and once you get them in the door with the free organization tools, you introduce the premium tier.
Naturally, the premium features are where the revenue and the really heavy integration happen.
What kind of premium features?
They offer paid tools like Home Configure, which runs on software from their Paradigm subsidiary.
Home configure, what does that do?
It allows a builder to sit down with a home buyer and generate interactive, photorealistic 3D models of the home right there on a screen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The buyer can see exactly what different windows or doors or exterior trims will look like in real time.
And I'm guessing the software is doing all the math in the background.
Exactly. It automatically adjusts the pricing and the material lists in the background as the buyer makes changes.
That's incredible. It turns a theoretical architectural drawing into a dynamic, shoppable experience for the end consumer.
It really does.
It sounds like they're trying to become the Apple iOS of home building.
That's a great comparison.
Right. You get the base operating system for free, the file storage, the order tracking, but once all your blueprints, your client photos, and your daily apps are in there, you're never switching to an Android.
The switching costs just become impossibly high. Once a professional builder integrates their entire estimating, quoting, and 3D design workflow into Builders FirstSource's digital ecosystem, they are locked in.
Because leaving is a nightmare.
Exactly. If a competitor down the street offers lumber for 3 cents less a board foot, the builder isn't going to switch. Because leaving my BLDR means untangling their entire back office operation.
Right. They would have to migrate their CAD files, retrain their staff on new quoting software, and basically go back to clipboard management.
Which nobody wants to do. So it shifts the relationship from a transactional vendor who you just haggle with over the price of wood to an indispensable operating system that runs your entire business.
Okay, but let's pause and look at the big picture here.
Sure.
If they are building this iOS of housing, developing proprietary software, acquiring climate-controlled modular factories, and completely changing the supply chain, how on earth are they funding it?
The billion-dollar question.
Right, because all of this technological innovation sounds incredibly expensive, especially during what we know was a serious housing slowdown in 2025.
It was a very tough year for housing.
So that requires us to look at the stark financial realities of 2025 and how they allocate your capital.
Well, the contrast in their financials is really a masterclass in operational discipline.
Let's lay out the reality of the top line first.
The top line was tough. Net sales dropped 12.1% in the fourth quarter to $3.4 billion.
Ouch.
And for the full year 2025, total net sales were down 7.4%, landing at that $15.2 billion mark we mentioned earlier.
And margins.
Because builders were pulling back, gross margins fell 240 basis points, which is financial terminology for 2.4%, down to 30.4%.
Okay, so it's a shrinking pie across the board. Revenue is down, margins are down.
But here's why investors pay such close attention to this management team.
Okay, why?
Because despite this top-line erosion, Builders FirstSource generated an astonishing $874 million in free cash flow.
Wait, $874 million?
Yep. That represents an approximate 8% free cash flow yield.
Meaning the free cash they generated was equal to roughly 8% of the company's total market value.
Exactly.
But the natural question for anyone listening right now is, how do you pull nearly $1 billion in free cash out of a business that is actively shrinking its sales and facing margin compression? That doesn't seem to make sense.
You do it by relentlessly squeezing efficiency out of the system.
Okay, give me the nuts and bolts.
They have highly variable cost structures. When volume drops, they immediately reduce variable headcount, they slash overtime, they heavily scrutinize discretionary spending.
Just tightening the belt everywhere.
Exactly. And they manage their working capital with incredible precision.
Working capital being Essentially, the money tied up in day-to-day operations,
Right.
right?
Right, inventory sitting in lumber yards or money owed to them by builders. By tightening up inventory levels and collecting cash faster, they untrap money from the balance sheet.
Ah, I
So
see.
even as the total revenue pie shrinks, they're able to extract massive amounts of cash from what remains.
But generating that cash leads to a capital allocation choice that really stands out in the data. I mean, we have to look at the sheer scale of their share
Oh,
buybacks.
it's a buyback monster.
It is almost unprecedented in this sector.
It really is. In 2025 alone, they deployed $404 million to retire 3.4 million shares.
And what was the average price on that?
The average price was $118.65.
Okay, but you really have to zoom out to the macro view to appreciate the scale of this, right?
Oh, absolutely. Since they initiated their aggressive buyback strategy back in August 2021, Builders FirstSource has deployed $8.0 billion to repurchase 99.3 million shares.
$8 billion. Let me put that in perspective for you listening. Over the last few years, they have effectively retired 48.1% of their total outstanding shares.
Yep.
They bought back almost half of their own company.
It's staggering, and they aren't stopping.
They're not.
No. In April 2025, the board of directors authorized a new $500 million share repurchase program, replacing the old one.
Wow.
And here's the kicker. They actually held off on open market repurchases in the fourth quarter of 2025.
Which means what?
It means that entire $500 million war chest remains completely intact and ready to deploy for 2026.
Okay, I have to challenge this strategy from an investor's perspective.
Go for it.
If you are holding this stock, is retiring half the company's shares a sign of incredible financial strength, or is it a sign that management literally can't find anything better to do with their cash?
That's the classic debate.
Right, because if they are the efficiency engine, shouldn't they be reinvesting every single dollar into building more modular factories and developing better AI software instead of just shrinking the share count?
That is the eternal debate with stock buybacks. Do you build the new factory or do you buy your own stock?
Exactly.
But if we connect this to the broader economic reality of the construction cycle right now, defensive capital allocation is required.
Because of the storm clouds.
Exactly. The entire industry is sailing into a severe storm. Management knows that blindly building new factories in a shrinking market destroys value.
Because then you end up with empty factories and high fixed costs while your revenue is dropping.
Right. Buying back stock at depressed multiples while the market is soft guarantees that when the market does recover, the remaining shareholders own a massively larger slice of the pie.
It's a highly calculated bet on the cyclicality of housing.
Precisely.
And their preparation for 2026 really reflects that defensive posture, doesn't it?
It does. Management is projecting a flat starts environment for 2026.
Meaning they don't expect a sudden surge in new home construction.
Right. So in response, they've instituted a $100 million SG&A cost reduction strategy.
SG&A, so selling, general, and administrative expenses.
Basically, their corporate overhead. This includes consolidating 25 facilities in 2025 alone.
Closing locations.
Yep. Which brings their two-year total to 55 facility consolidations.
55. Wow.
They're aligning their physical network to match the reality of local demand rather than keeping half-empty yards open, just hoping the market magically recovers.
But they are also forecasting a swing in how they use their cash for the upcoming year, right? They are preparing for the back half of 2026.
Yes, they are planning a $300 million swing toward working capital investments in 2026.
What does that actually mean in practice?
It means they are going to actively build up inventory and receivables because they anticipate a heavier sales ramp in the second half of the year.
So they're stocking up.
Exactly. They want to make sure they have the product on hand when builders finally start accelerating again.
And even with that $300 million cash drag to build up inventory, they are still projecting what?
They are still projecting $500 million in free cash flow for 2026.
Incredible. But to understand why they have to be so incredibly careful with their capital, we have to look at the environment they're operating in.
The macro environment.
Right. The structural industry headwinds punishing the sector right now are just brutal. And it all comes down to the affordability crisis.
The macro friction is intense right now. I mean, mortgage rates have been incredibly volatile, hovering in that punishing 6% to 7% range.
Which is painful if you remember the 3% days.
Very painful. And to understand the mechanics of this, you have to look at consumer purchasing power. The difference between a 3% mortgage and a 7% mortgage isn't just a slightly higher monthly bill.
No, it fundamentally alters the math of what a family can afford.
Exactly. Buyers who wanted a $500,000 house suddenly realize they can only qualify for a $350,000 house.
Or they just step away from the market entirely.
Right, because they lack urgency. They decide to stay in their current home and wait it out, which creates this massive lock-in effect where existing home inventory just dries up.
And when buyers lose urgency and stop visiting those model homes, builders panic.
They do.
Which leads to a massive disruption in the supply chain.
It leads to a phenomenon called builder destocking.
Builder destocking. Tell me about that.
Late in the summer of 2025, home builders looked at their spreadsheets and realized they had too much standing inventory.
Standing inventory meaning completed or half-completed homes sitting empty without a buyer lined up.
Exactly. And because buyers weren't rushing to lock in 7% mortgages, builders aggressively slammed the brakes.
They stopped building.
They delayed new housing starts heavily in November and December just to work down their excess supply. They didn't want to break ground on a new subdivision if they couldn't sell the houses they already finished.
Makes sense. And that aggressive destocking is what directly caused that 12.1% revenue drop for Builders FirstSource in the fourth quarter.
You hit the nail on the head.
But, there is an observation in the data that I found absolutely fascinating. A sort of hidden trend beneath the surface.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
Even when a house does get built right now, Builders FirstSource actually makes less money on it than they used to.
Ah, yes.
Why is that?
It's a concept called value erosion per start.
Value erosion per start.
Yeah. To combat the affordability crisis, builders have to get the final sale price of the home down so buyers can actually qualify for the mortgage, right?
Right.
And the only way to do that is by stripping out complexity. We are seeing a massive shift towards smaller, simpler home designs.
So shrinking the square footage.
Shrinking the footprint, they are removing complex roof lines that require custom trusses. They are stripping out the custom millwork, the high-end cabinets, the fancy trim.
The irony for you listening is, you might see a new neighborhood going up down the street and think the supply chain must be cashing in.
Right.
But if those are all stripped down, 1,200 square foot starter homes with basic square windows and standard doors, the underlying economics have completely changed.
Completely changed. Fewer custom features mean fewer sales dollars per start for Builders FirstSource, and that compresses margins across their entire ecosystem.
Because they are selling fewer things per house.
And the things they are selling are the less profitable basic components rather than the high-margin custom upgrades.
Right. A complex vaulted ceiling requires a highly engineered, high-margin roof truss.
But a basic flat roof requires a much simpler, lower-margin component. Multiply that across thousands of homes, and the value erosion is massive.
So, if the organic market is shrinking because houses are getting smaller and management is faced with a wall where they can't force builders to build bigger houses, how do they keep growing their revenue?
They have to buy the revenue of other companies.
Exactly. That is the logic behind their strategic vertical integration and their M&A playbook, mergers and acquisitions.
When organic growth stalls, a company with an $874 million free cash flow generator turns to acquisitions. And Builders FirstSource has developed incredible muscle memory for this.
Let's look at the numbers for 2025.
In 2025 alone, they deployed $1.14 billion across 8 specific acquisitions.
Over $1 billion on M&A in 1 year.
Yeah. And since their transformative merger with BMC in 2021, they have made 40 acquisitions, adding over $2.3 billion in annual sales.
To put that in perspective, they have essentially bolted on the equivalent of a top 10 industry player entirely through M&A over the last few years.
It's massive consolidation.
But it's not just about getting bigger, is it? It's about what they are buying to secure their supply lines.
Right.
Let's look at backward integration first. They want to own the manufacturing.
They don't just want to buy trusses from a regional manufacturer and resell them. They want to own the factory itself.
Give me an example.
A perfect example is their January 2026 acquisition of premium building components.
Okay, what did that give them?
This gave Builders FirstSource their very first truss and wall panel operations in the state of New York.
Ah, okay.
And to understand the margin capture here, you just have to follow the wood again.
Walk me through it.
Before this acquisition, Builders FirstSource might have sold raw lumber to a truss manufacturer in New York who would build the truss, add their profit margin, and sell it to a builder.
Right.
But now, Builders FirstSource owns the facility. They bring in their own lumber, engineer the truss in-house, and capture the manufacturer's profit margin directly, completely cutting out the middleman.
That's incredibly efficient.
And we see this in other product lines too. Like in Houston, Texas, they're manufacturing their own traditional vinyl windows.
Okay, so they are expanding backward to own the factory, but they are also expanding forward, right?
Sure.
They are moving closer and closer to acting as the general contractor on the actual job site.
This forward integration is where they truly secure the builder's loyalty. Look at their 2025 acquisitions of Builders Door and Trim and Riston Construction.
Okay, what do those companies do?
By acquiring these two companies, Builders FirstSource instantly established turnkey millwork operations in the Las Vegas market.
Turnkey. Meaning what, exactly?
Turnkey means they aren't just dropping off a stack of doors and trim at the curb for the builder to figure out. They're sending their own professional crews to actually install them inside the house.
So that installation piece is becoming a massive part of their identity.
It is. Professional installation services now make up 16 to 17% of Builders FirstSource's entire business.
Wow.
And connect this back to the labor shortage we discussed earlier.
Right. Builders can't find workers.
Exactly. By offering turnkey framing, shell construction, and professional installation, Builders FirstSource acts almost as an outsourced general contractor.
And I'm guessing builders love that.
Builders absolutely love it because it provides a seamless job site. They make one phone call to Builders FirstSource, the materials show up precisely when needed, and the crew arrives to install them.
Completely eliminating the headache of managing fragmented, unreliable local labor pools.
Exactly.
It's like moving from selling car parts to operating the assembly line yourself. They are systematically capturing the profit margin at every single touch point of the build, from the raw lumber to the factory assembly to the digital quoting software, all the way to hammering the nail into the wall.
It's a closed loop.
But acquiring regional dominance and becoming the assembly line doesn't completely shield you from the immediate, harsh realities of the market, does it?
Unfortunately, no.
So let's scrutinize the immediate risks and how the market is valuing this stock right now.
We have to pull no punches on the Q4 2025 numbers here because the core organic decline was severe.
How bad was it?
This wasn't a minor dip. Single-family organic sales were down 15%. Multifamily dropped a staggering 20%. Even the repair and remodel segment, which is usually more resilient because people renovate when they can't afford to move, fell 7%.
And based on their own forecasts, the immediate future doesn't look much brighter.
Management issued highly cautious guidance for the first quarter of 2026. They are expecting sales of just $3.0 billion to $3.3 billion.
That's low. Why so cautious?
Part of this is out of their control. Severe winter weather completely shut down major construction markets in Texas and the Carolinas early in the year, meaning work literally stopped.
Right. You can't build in a blizzard.
Exactly. But it's also a continuation of that ongoing builder destocking we analyzed earlier. Builders are still working through inventory and delaying starts until they see a clear signal from the consumer.
And we also have to factor in the commodity exposure, because it is still a massive drag on their top line.
Right. Prolonged softness in residential construction acts as an anchor on commodity prices. When nobody is building, nobody is buying wood.
Which leads to deflation.
We saw severe lumber and OSB deflation, pushing the commodity composite below $350 per thousand board feet at the end of 2025.
And that deflation mechanically shrinks their top-line revenue, even if their margins remain somewhat stable.
Right. And Wall Street definitely noticed this weakness.
How did they react?
In mid-December 2025, Jefferies actually downgraded the stock from a buy to a hold.
A downgrade. That hurts.
Their analysts warned that the stock could remain range-bound until single-family construction shows clear, undeniable signs of reacceleration.
They essentially told investors, there's no rush to buy this right now.
Pretty much.
So, the analysts are downgrading it, the weather is terrible, commodity prices are in the basement, and organic sales are dropping double digits.
Not a great picture.
It paints a pretty bleak picture. But there is a massive counter-narrative hiding in the financial filings.
Oh, yes, there is.
Because if you really want to know what a company's worth, follow the insider money.
This is the plot twist in the valuation scrutiny. Despite all the gloom, Director Paul S. Levy made a very loud statement.
What do you do?
On March 13th, 2026, he went into the open market and purchased 50,000 shares of Builders FirstSource stock.
He bought those at an average price of $87.73.
That purchase increased his total direct holdings to over 1.7 million shares.
Okay, so if you are the listener looking at this situation, who do you trust more? Do you trust the Wall Street analysts at Jefferies who are downgrading the stock to a hold because it's raining in Texas and lumber prices are temporarily soft?
Or do you trust the company director dropping over $4.3 million of his own cash into the stock right in the middle of a historic downturn?
Exactly. An insider doesn't throw $4 million into a sinking ship. He clearly sees something on the horizon that the short-term models are missing.
And that tension between near-term macroeconomic headwinds and intense insider confidence forces us to look past the next quarter.
It leads us perfectly to our final strategic outlook.
Yeah.
What is the ultimate verdict on Builders FirstSource?
We are looking at a company that is fundamentally a down cycle compounder.
A down cycle compound.
Right. Our final strategic outlook and rating for Builders FirstSource is a long-term growth opportunity.
Okay.
We have to acknowledge the dual nature of the stock. Yes, Jefferies is probably right about the next 3 to 6 months.
The stock will likely remain range-bound in the near term.
Right, due to macro friction, cautious home builders, depressed commodities. But the mechanics of this business make it a textbook down cycle compounder.
Break down the mechanics of that for us. How exactly does a company compound value when the entire housing cycle is trending down?
It's all about the setup for outperformance. Builders FirstSource's massive scale, with 585 locations giving them unparalleled buying power, combined with their digital superiority through the BLDR platform, acts like a coiled spring.
A coiled spring. I like that.
They survive the bad times by generating massive free cash flow, slashing their variable costs, and retiring millions of shares.
All right. They shrank the share count by 48.1%.
Think about the math of a share buyback in a cyclical industry.
Let's hear it.
If a company has 100 shares and makes $100, the earnings per share is $1.
A simple math.
If they buy back 50 shares during a down cycle, when the market inevitably recovers, and they make that same $100 again, the earnings per share is suddenly $2.
Without the company actually growing its underlying profit at all.
Exactly. Now factor in that Builders FirstSource is growing its profit potential through high-margin acquisitions and software lock-in.
So when the inevitable recovery happens, and it will happen, driven by massive demographic tailwinds, an underbuilt U.S. housing market, and eventually easing mortgage rates, Builders FirstSource is perfectly positioned to capture outsized market share.
And when revenue normalizes and margins expand, those earnings per share will absolutely explode because there are half as many shares outstanding as there were in 2021.
Why does all of this granular financial analysis matter for your portfolio? Because you don't just invest in the physical houses being built today.
No, you don't.
If you want to capture the real value, you invest in the infrastructure that makes building houses tomorrow cheaper, faster, and more profitable. You invest in the efficiency engine.
Well said.
We started this deep dive talking about a chaotic potluck dinner and how Builders FirstSource is trying to become the master chef. As we wrap up, I want to turn it over to look at the broader implications of what this means for the future of housing.
Yeah, if Builders FirstSource is ultimately successful, if they truly centralize and digitize the entire supply chain, if they move home building off the muddy lots and into climate-controlled modular factories, and if every builder is using the exact same MyBLDR platform to optimize their costs,
Right.
how will this change the physical landscape of our neighborhoods?
That's a huge question.
Will the hyper-efficiency of this technology lead to a future where American housing becomes incredibly affordable, but aesthetically identical across the entire country?
Just row after row of the exact same optimized floor plan.
Exactly. Does the ultimate efficiency engine mean the end of the unique American home?
Something to mull over next time you drive past a new subdivision. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Risk defined, portfolio protected.